Welcome to the back room at the branch, and welcome to the first annual Blue Billies Fine Literary Presentation, or what do we call ourselves?
First annual Fine Literary Performance.
Why don't I introduce the people who are on stage. This is Dave Schultz. Dave lives in Naperville with his daughter, Scout. Then there's me. Most of you know me from running this place. But what you might not know is that I've been writing for about 10 years. I started off writing stories from my kind of bust-out white trash childhood. It was a little bit like a David Lynch movie. So, the Blue Billies is a writers group, and we are dedicated to expanding and experimenting with the crafted word. We want to get the words up off of paper and into performance space, and kind of play and have fun with that thin line that exists between theater and a reading and musical performance, and just kind of have fun with it. Because they were readily available in bars across the country, 7-Ups and Slim Jims were the mainstay of our childhood diet. When Mama and Joe rolled up at some roadside tavern for a long night of drinking, the three of us kids would make a night of it as well. We knew this was going to take some time, so we'd hunker down and make the best of it until we got so tired, keeled over in a red plastic booth, smelled like somebody's butt. Old men would give me and my sister quarters to play the jukebox. Robert Mitchum's Thunder Road was our favorite tune. It was a song about a son who runs illegal liquor for his dad and dies in a car wreck trying to outrun the cops.
Well, I come around the corner and there she was. Out of politeness, I should have focused in on the drink machine or the bags of jerky that filled the racks to my left, but I couldn't. I couldn't look at anything but her. I froze abruptly, stood awkwardly. I was speechless, hypnotized. Her raw stripper appeal was profoundly undeniable. Breathing became an unnatural act. Seconds were lost in an unaccounted manner. When I came back to myself, I knew much to my embarrassment that she had to have noticed me gawking. We were but 2 feet apart. Still, them black lens sunglasses allowed me the possibility that she hadn't. Another second passed. Her head tilted slightly and she said,
Take a picture, it'll last longer.
For once in my fucked up life, I was halfway slick. Can I? And then we took a drunken stroll down by the graveyard. And there was crosses, they burning in the night. She took me by the hand and said, Dave, do you understand just how proud I am of being white? And I'm in love with the little Klan girl.
What in the hell are you looking at?
Ain't you never seen somebody in love? She groaned, took her foot out of the cooler and snagged 3 bottles of Mountain Dew off the middle shelf. She let the door snap shut. I hadn't moved an inch.
Do you ever get laid using that line?
I ain't never used it before. She started towards the counter and I followed her as far as the drink machine, started filling my cup. Curtis rang her up and she dug in her bag for change.
I don't know you. You're not from here.
She said to me, her nose still poked in her bag. Nope, I said, I just got to town. I'm staying with my cousin.
Cicero's jailbird cousin? I heard about you. You're a wild boy.
I ain't all that. She paid for the drinks with a few wadded bills and some change.
I'll judge for myself.
What do you mean by that? I asked and I walked to the counter with my soda. Hey, you want to hang out? She didn't say nothing. She just looked at me as she backed out of the store, easing the door open with her bottom. $1.28, Curtis said as I watched her get into an old Buick. A tiny rebel flag flew from the antenna. I spread $2 out on the counter. Who was that? I asked him as he made change. I ain't in the information business, he answered.
Mama and Maisella were sitting in the kitchen at the red Formica table, nursing flat cups of coffee, deep in conversations. A starburst light inspired by the atomic bomb burned dimly over their heads. They barely looked up at me as I walked in. Being 10 years old gave me entree to new worlds. Mama, Daddy wants some bologna sandwiches.
Oh, okay, honey. Take whatever you want. Maisella, you want a sandwich? Shorty's making one.
Well, I wouldn't turn one down.
Mama, you want one?
Oh, don't mind if I do. Shorty's a good cook. Her Chungking Chinese food's great. With those little crunchy noodle things on top of everything.
I grabbed the bologna and mayonnaise out of the fridge, opened the bunny bread wrapper, laid out 12 slices on the counter. As I spread thick mayonnaise on each slice, Mama spoke in low tones in the background.
I just felt this awful pain when I was going to the toilet. And I looked in the stool, and there she was.
Oh, right, you're kidding.
No, it was Kimberly. She was just 3 months old. She was just a bloody little clot.
Oh my God, what'd you do?
I didn't know what to do, so I just flushed her down.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I figured it was the same as burying her.
Well, I guess that's one way of looking at it. Well, what'd you tell Kenny?
I told him we lost Kimberly. What else could I tell him?
You sure it wasn't just a bad period?
I carefully centered a single slice of bologna.
I'll be glad when this heat spell breaks. She took out a second piece of ice and ran it across my forehead. I'm hot, she said. Are you hot? She ran the ice down my cheek and neck. I put my arms around her waist and pulled her close. She did not resist, nor did she return my embrace. Her right arm rose, bent at the elbow. Her palm went behind her head. Her left arm curved gracefully downward, slightly backing away. She arched her back and pushed her breast into me and placed her face inches from mine. Our eyes locked. She put her lips lightly to mine and held it for 1 sweet second. The kiss ended. Our lips parted. But she did not pull away. Her face lingered inches from mine and she whispered, "Your hot dog ain't getting no bun."
Mama and Maisella were sitting at the exact same spot, kitchen table. Pulled the chrome handle on the fridge door as the light popped on inside.
Shorty, grab them pickles out there, would you? I declared Kimberly as a dependent on our tax returns this year. You get a $500 rebate with each child.
Couldn't you get in trouble for doing that?
Oh, they don't check. Besides, if she'd have been born, she'd have been born this year, and that would have made her a dependent. So it's not like I'm lying.
The energy in the room sent my head spinning. Mama's reasoning was the craziest thing I ever heard. How could she flush a baby down a toilet and then declare her on a tax return?
Dad was older than Sissy by 15 years. He leaned on the door and tilted his head slowly, focusing on an unturned field east of the trailer. "You Herman Conklin's boy?" "Herman's my dad's younger brother." "So your dad is?" Aldo Conklin." He turned and walked into the shadows of the trailer, and I noticed the handle of the automatic tucked in the back of his camo shorts. "Didn't he hitch up with Mary Beth Eubanks?" Sissy took me by the hand and I answered as we walked up the cinder block steps into the trailer. "Yeah, that's my mom. You know the Eubanks?" "Know 'em enough. That's some good stock, son." Calling me son. That normally would have wrinkled the shit out of me, and I usually don't sit still for no interrogating either. But this cat was 6'4", wide as a Peterbilt, and looked to be just as strong. There was a lot of muscle underneath that detailed layer of prison ink. Besides all that, he had a Glock in his britches, and his sister showed me her underwear. It was an unusual situation, no doubt.
Uncle Walter owned a garage in Henrietta, Oklahoma that Mama claimed she set him up in with what was left of her divorce settlement from my Swiss father. On the side, he refereed wrestling matches. We'd sit right down in the front row and think it's the most exciting thing we'd ever seen. Back then, we didn't realize it was fake. One day, lightning struck a tree that Uncle Walter was fishing under, and he felt sure the Lord had called him to preach. Which in the South is all it takes to be qualified. This is true, people. Every word of this is true. I didn't even change the names. During the end of his life, Uncle Walter quit preaching, became a policeman, which was his eventual undoing. He was killed spectacularly in the line of duty in a roadblock that they had set up to stop some armed felon. Well, they stopped him all right, but before they could kill him, he killed a bunch of cops. Uncle Walter being one of them. She's laughing. It's her uncle. It made the national news, and Aunt Trudy even got a letter from President Nixon. When I heard he was dead, honest to God, I was glad. I figured he had finally got what was coming to him, because as far back as I can remember, Uncle Walter was a molester. He was the master of the public sliming. If we were swimming and he invited me to jump off his shoulders while he was helping me get up there, he'd stick his finger up inside me while Mom and Aunt Trudy talked on the blanket under the tree. You'd think I would have yelled, but I was too ashamed and paralyzed with fear. We'd act like nothing had happened. On Sunday mornings, on our way out the church door, Uncle Walter would stick his tongue in my mouth as I gave him the obligatory goodbye kiss. Again, I froze in fear and shame. All this occurred amidst a chorus of, "Thank you for the fine sermon, Brother Henry." I was pleased when I heard he had been gunned down. And to this day, I have a real problem with authority figures. It's pitiful to admit, but I was sure glad he was dead. If the drinking doesn't end, it'll put an end to us. I can't live with the bottle and everything it does. Your life is a disaster, and you wonder why I fuss. But if the drinking doesn't end, it'll put an end to us.
Let's go, baby. Well,
Dreaming, living through his shoes, looking for the place that the blues do. They were looking, trying to book him, so Pappy kept cooking that.
very nice, folks. This is the end.
Performances in this space and other writers to come forward and show their butts as well.